Week 5 of the fantasy football season. And here's a few tight ends I looked at on the wire this week. The first guy, Mo Cox of the Indianapolis Colts. I feel like every year I start talking about Mo Cox, and then he disappears for games on end and then reemerges as a fantasy option. So right now I got to talk about him. He had a breakout game here in Week 4 for this Indianapolis Colts team, but he's done nothing the whole season until here versus the Tennessee Titans. 6 catches, 85 yards, and 2 receiving touchdowns. So Week 1 at Houston, in that one, 2 catches, 26 yards. Week 2 at Jacksonville, a catch for 9 yards. And Week 3 versus Kansas City, a catch for 9 yards. I know Matt Ryan's still trying to get used to this offense over here in Indianapolis, but right now, I know there's not many good options besides Michael Pittman and Jonathan Taylor. But Taylor, he could be down now with a high ankle sprain. We got to wait and see what that happens. So it's a short week here for this Indianapolis Colts team. They're going to Denver in Week 5. And Mo Cox, we know he's a big target. We know he's a red zone target. We've seen it the last couple years, going back to the Phillip Rivers days a few years ago with this Colts team. And right now, it's a guy to mention. He's available 95% of fantasy leagues, but he's been inconsistent. Maybe this could be the breakout that leads to more volume and a guy who could be a consistent fantasy option. But I'm going to take a wait-and-see approach on that, but definitely a guy to target on the wire this week. The next guy is Will Dissly of the Seattle Seahawks. And Dissly, he's one of the favorite targets right now of Geno Smith because he's had 3 double-digit fantasy days in the first 4 weeks. Week 1 versus Denver, 3 catches, 43 yards, a touchdown. Week 2 at San Francisco was a down game for the whole offense, 2 receptions for no yards. Week 3 versus Atlanta, 3 catches, 34 yards, a touchdown. And Week 4 at Detroit, 4 catches, 39 yards, a touchdown. So it seems like this week he's going to get 3-4 catches a game, 30, 40 yards, and find the end zone. And right now he's available in 97% of fantasy leagues here. And he's got not a great matchup in New Orleans, but I think he can make some plays in that ball game. And like I said, defenses, they attract to DK Metcalf and Lockett, they roll the coverage to. And this week he's open in the middle of the field. And he makes plays in the red zone. And he's a guy that can't be ignored anymore in fantasy leagues. And he's definitely a tight end I look to get on the wire this week. The next guy is Robert Tonyan of the Green Bay Packers. So this Packer offense, I know it hasn't looked great, but it's starting to round into shape, I believe, here. Tampa Bay in Week 3. Week 4, tough ball game versus the Patriots. I thought they would look a little bit better, the Packers, and beat them a little easier, but they had to win in overtime. And Rodgers, he's starting to find his guys. Romeo Doubs is a main target on this team, even though he dropped a few balls in the ball game. Robert Tonyan is definitely a good target, and Randall Cobb all reliable. So the last couple games here for Tonyan, he's played well. Week 3 at Tampa, 6 catches, 37 yards. And Week 4 versus New England, 2 catches, 22 yards, and a touchdown. So we know tight end is a very inconsistent position. Besides the mainstay guys, Kelsey, Mark Andrews, Waller, and Kittle. After that, it's a crapshoot for the most part here. So right now, if you need tight end, though, Rodgers, he's looking Tonyan's way. He's a big target. And a couple seasons ago, we saw Tonyan was very fantasy worthy as a guy you could use in 10 and 12 team leagues. And right now, he's available, is Tonyan in tons of leagues, is 68%. And a tight end to consider on the wire this week. The next guy is Taiwa Conquing of the New York Jets. A lot of people were wondering what Conkling's target range will look like and what he would do with Zach Wilson at quarterback. And he had not a great game, but a decent PPR game in Wilson's return Week 4 at Pittsburgh. 3 catches, 52 yards. So right here was the first game this season that Conklin didn't get double-digit fantasy points in PPR leagues. But right here was good to see Wilson look his way. Not the greatest of games, 8.20, but he's available in 58% of fantasy leagues. And Week 5 versus Miami, it could be a ball game where the Jets are trailing early and often, have to throw a lot, and Conklin could work the middle of the field. And the 5th and final tight end I look to get on the wire this week's Cameron Brate of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I know Brate left the ball game with concussion symptoms, but if he could go in Week 5 here is Brate versus the Atlanta Falcons. This is a matchup that's very good for this Tampa Bay team, and they should pick apart this Atlanta defense, no doubt about it. So right now, Cameron Brate available in tons of fantasy leagues at 96%, and as long as he's cleared and ready to go, he's a tight end I would have confidence starting. And over the last 2 weeks now, he's looked good. Week 3 versus Green Bay, 5 catches, 52 yards. And week 4 versus Kansas City, he got peppered with 8 targets, 4 catches, 32 yards. So right here, if he's healthy and good to go in week 5, great matchup versus the Falcons, and he's a tight end that definitely can help fantasy owners. So that's a few tight ends I look to get on the wire here for week 5 of the fantasy football season.